How's it going, football fans? Welcome inside the set of Gridiron Glory. How you doing, folks? I'm Blake Brody. Thanks for joining us for coverage of Week 5 action around the region. That's right, it's week number 5, which means tonight marked the halfway point of a season that's flying by. The first look at playoff seedings were released this week. Still, though, plenty of time to improve positioning and make noise in conference play. Looking to bounce back after their first loss of the season, the Parkersburg Big Reds. Last week against Huntington, the Big Reds blew a 17-point first-half lead. So head coach Don Reeves pointed to tonight's matchup with St. Albans as a big opportunity for his team to bounce back. Now welcoming up to the desk, our Miss West Virginia reporter, Katie Doubt. Katie, you were at this matchup tonight, Parkersburg St. Albans. Not only did Parkersburg lose a game they had complete control of last week, they also lost a few key players, which certainly wouldn't help in their matchup tonight.
You know, not at all, Blake. Excuse me. You know, after that big loss last week, the Big Reds had a lot of motivation to win going into this game. But with the loss of Adam Lindemood, no one was really sure what was going to happen. We spoke with Lindemood for a second, and he says that he has a sprained MCL in rinaculum, which is a big word, but basically means a sprained knee.
Doesn't sound good.
It does not, and we'll be out a minimum of 4 weeks. But we're jumping right into it. 5 minutes into the first half. Alex Ash throws a dynamite pass to number 8, Zay Manette, for a gain of 46 yards. A few plays later, Ash, looking at Manette, gets tackled here in a second. Look at that. He's looking for it. He looks for it and gets taken out, fumbles the ball. St. Albans' Drew Kirby picks it up and just keeps going and going and going. 84 yards in the only touchdown of the night for the Red Dragons. Dragons have the ball again. QB Taylor Clark hands off to number 5, Zach Walkie, but as you can see, quickly taken down by Big Red Jeremy Bell, who was strong player that game. Parkersburg gets the ball again, and after a number of phenomenal throws, there's a TD by Chase Ryan to tie it up at 7. The fans love that, going crazy. After another quick possession from the Red Dragons, Parkersburg gets it again. Take the ball down, Alex Ash passes to Chandler Hamilton for the second touchdown, putting the score at 15-7. St. Albans has a short possession, has to punt. Terrell grabs the punt, almost gets taken down, stumbles, keeps going and going, kept pushing for a nice gain of yardage for the Big Reds. Here's another nice play between Ash and Manette. Those two have a lot of chemistry going on.
Sounds like it.
Beautiful 19-yard. You know, you saw that. There was that Indian. He loves it. For Chandler Hamilton, he had 4 catches, 2 TDs, 77 rushing yards. He was huge. There's an error there. That's actually Chandler Hamilton. Excuse me, I messed that up. There's Zay Manette. He also had an amazing game, but at the end, he actually ended up breaking his collarbone.
Wow.
In the second half. And I think, you know, that's going to hurt them.
That's
with
tough.
Lindemood out and now Manette.
Right.
The guys have been doing well, and I don't know.
So Parkersburg gets a big win, but it sounds like it came at a big cost.
It really did. You know, they've lost. Let me look down at my notes. They've lost Manette today. Mm-hmm. They had lost Lindemood last week. They already lost 2 games ago. They lost Chad Collins, who actually had surgery earlier this afternoon, and was listening to the game we heard. And also tonight, Matt Saunter dislocated his shoulder.
Man.
So that's
1, 2,
3, 4 guys out right now.
Unbelievable.
And it's going to hurt them. I mean, they're looking good. They're standing pretty right now, sitting pretty.
Right. That's something that through 6 weeks, Parkersburg has to like where they stand at least.
Exactly, and they've been able to push through these injuries so far. But with this loss of Manette and now Saunter, I mean, I'm nervous for them. I'd love to see them do well, but you just don't know. That's something you can't predict, how a team's going to do after losing
several key
big
players.
names. Key players, absolutely.
All right, well, we'll see if Parkersburg can bounce back next week. Katie, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Hey, well, stick around for coverage later in the show of our game of the week between Sheridan and Cambridge. Surely tonight, the Generals will be tested for the first time this season. Both teams come in unblemished at 4-0 and are both ranked in the top 7 of the Division III Region 11 standings. Highlights and analysis of this potential playoff preview with Pat Chiesa coming up later in the show, so stick around. Okay, well, now TVC Ohio action this week. Mark Pierce, tell you what, Nelsonville York and Logan matched up tonight. This is a matchup that's been historically dominated by Logan, but man, did Nelsonville York looked eager to buck that trend tonight, didn't they?
Right. Coming into tonight's game, Blake, Logan is 21-6 all-time versus Nelsonville York. But get this, in those 6 games, Nelsonville York has won 5 of them and then went on to go undefeated. So, I mean, great stat there. They're looking to continue that tonight. Nelsonville York is hoping to keep that trend alive. Dustin Young has been unreal this year, and tapping the Buckeye is a tradition for the Buckeyes. Dustin Young gets it going here, 22 yards on the carry, gets him off. That's the first drive of the game, Blake. Great way to start the game.
Absolutely.
6 plays later, Austin North shuffles into the end zone from the 7 yards out. Buckeyes go up 6-0. They went for a 2-point conversion, no good, 6-0. After the Logan drive stalls, Clint Handa finds the end zone from 39 yards out. Good for a 12-0 lead. They went for the 2-point conversion again. Again, didn't get it. So 12-0 is your score. Dave Boston giving Clint the good old-fashioned high five. It never goes out of style. But Blake, we can't forget the defense. Logan, running back Corey McCarty, coughs up the ball after a decent run, but Garrison Breeze recovers it for the Buckeyes. Very next play, quarterback Nathan Dean finds Daniel Klein through the air on the sidelines. He loses the defender. A 40-yard touchdown pass, second quarter score, 19-0. Surprisingly enough, the Buckeyes weren't done yet. I'm shocked it took 2 quarters for Dustin Young to find the end zone, but hey, better late than never, right, Blake?
Absolutely.
This run goes for 40 yards and a 26-0 lead. Nathan Dean would tack on a field goal at the end of the second half to make it 29-0 at the half. Your final score, Blake, 42-0. The Buckeyes just ran over the Chieftains, and Logan really had no answer for him.
Looks like it. Nelsonville York, another dominating victory. What exactly did the Buckeyes do tonight that the Chieftains just couldn't stop?
Well, really, everybody showed up. Everybody played well. You can't really put it on one player tonight. Daniel Klein had 91 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He really had a solid game for the Buckeyes, and every player really stepped up. The defense played strong again tonight. We've grown accustomed to seeing that. So great overall victory for Nelsonville York.
Absolutely. Now, conference play starts up next week in the Ohio. And
right.
The 3-headed monster right now of the Buckeyes, Athens, and Alexander come rolling in at 5-0. How do you see this league race playing out? It's going to be a huge one.
Well, yeah, we got that 3-headed monster there, and what are you going to do? Each team is fully capable of winning this conference. I still feel like Nelsonville York is the team to beat because they did win last year, and they haven't lost a TVC Ohio game since 2009. So I really feel like the bullseye's on their back.
Absolutely. Now, next week, we're going to be in Athens for their matchup with Megs. A chance to see if the Marauders at 4-1 are for real. The Bulldogs certainly look like it. What can we expect from that matchup?
Well, I still think the Athens Bulldogs are the team to beat just because they are playing at such a high level. But you can't count out Megs. I mean, they're 4-1 at this point. I didn't see that happening. So I'm not going to count them out, but I still feel like the Bulldogs are going to probably end up winning that game.
Okay, well, we'll see how it plays out next week and throughout the entire TVC Ohio season. Mark will be covering it for us all season. Thanks a lot, man.
No problem.
Well, for feature content of your favorite teams, power rankings, and updated playoff standings, be sure and check out the Gridiron Glory page at WOUB.org. NVL heavyweight TriValley stepped out of conference play last week and came out on the wrong end of a 14-10 slugfest with the playoff-minded Dover Tornadoes. This week, the Scotties returned to NVL action and look to get back onto their winning ways against Crooksville. Now we go live in Zanesville with our NVL reporter, Glenn Janos. Glenn, TriValley last week, a tough loss to a respectable Dover team. Justin Buttermore was extremely unhappy with the Scotties. What can you tell us about how they played tonight?
Well, tonight was a completely different story. It was homecoming night, and they're expecting it to be a little bit better tonight. Last week, it was poor offensive line play, poor effort. Justin Buttermore was not happy about it, and they wanted to come out tonight and really dominate the Ceramics. Like I said, it was homecoming night, so they were excited for it. And with second play of from scrimmage, Nathan Strock passes it to Austin Jones. He's going to make defenders miss. Takes it 61 yards to the house, 7-0 early. But the good news keeps coming for the Scotties. As Crooksville has the ball, Lake Channel intercepts the pass. Channel intercepted by Chris Michaels at midfield, and Michael will finish what he started when he gets a beautiful fade route. Nathan Strock just drops it into the corner of the end zone. 14-0 for the Scotties. 212 yards of offense in the first quarter alone. That's great stuff there. Buttermore's happy about it. And after another interception, Jones would add a rushing touchdown. This was 19 yards out, 21-0. And then Matt Amicone also added a touchdown late in the first. And second quarter, here's Nathan Strock's going to get sacked on 4th down, forced to punt. Ceramics getting something going, but not long because TriValley got the ball back. Austin Jones, 24-yard rushing touchdown, 195 total yards in the game, up 35-0. Good stuff for the Scotties. And late in the second, Colton Gill for the Ceramics rushes 13 yards. That's the longest play of the half for the Ceramics, and they're driving. They get into TriValley territory, but Gill is picked off by Jacob White, and the Scotties will go into halftime up 35-0, go on to win 55-0. Everything working out for them. 472 total yards, very balanced. It's rushing and passing attack, so good news all around for the TriValley Scotties.
A bounce-back performance from the Scotties, and Coach Buttermore has got to be thrilled with the way his team bounced back tonight.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, they had, like I said, 472 total yards offense, no problem moving the ball. Defense caused turnovers. They had 3 on the night, so really everything worked out for them tonight.
Yeah, talk about the performance of some of their playmakers, because it looked like across the board they were just dominant tonight.
Well, yeah, Nathan Strock had over 200 passing yards. That's always a good thing for him. Then Austin Jones, like I said during the highlights, 195 total yards in the game. He had 72 receiving yards. So, I mean, very proficient work from both those players, something they did not have last week.
All right, well, TriValley responds to their first loss of the season. Thanks a lot, Glenn. Well, over in the SEOAL, Chillicothe and Portsmouth matched up tonight. Each team looking for their first win of the season. Last year, Chillicothe at home dominated this matchup, which jump-started them to a surprising second-place conference finish. This year, however, the game's in Portsmouth, where we go live with Carter Rodriguez. Carter, talk about this game tonight. Both teams looking for their first win of the season, and it looks like two teams hungry, left everything on the field tonight.
Well, Blake, you know, if you take an 0-4 team and add an 0-4 team, well, then I guess, you know, that's going to equal the best game in the SEOAL all year. Well, you know, it was homecoming in Portsmouth. You know, we had a little princess and prince on the court as well, but we're going to start off in the second quarter. Mason Jordan with a 14-yard touchdown run, 7-0 Trojans they hit, but the bad Mason Jordan was out to play also in the second quarter. He gets picked off by Luke Barnes. He takes it more than 80 yards back for a touchdown, 7-7 all. But Mason Jordan's not done yet. It's near the end of the second quarter. He hits Wayne Evans for a 35-yard touchdown, which sets up a big-time field goal going into the half. Evans is obviously pumped, and the field goal at half puts the Trojans up 10-7. Jalen Jones, however, takes over in the third quarter for the Cavs. That's a man's touchdown, 14-10 Cavs, followed by immediately Ryan Mathis, QB sneak 2-yard touchdown, 21-10 Cavs. Looks like that Chillicothe is taking over the game, but this little man still believes. He says, "Go Trojans." Handoff to Duke Edwards, 2-yard touchdown, 21-16 after the 2-point conversion fails. And then Mason Jordan is running into trouble. He avoids the sack, and he just throws it up in the air for Zayd Whitley, and it is 22-21. Then he hits LT Adams for the 2-point conversion, 24-21 Trojans. But Ryan Mathis isn't done yet. He hit Adam Bixler to set up a 10-yard field goal for Noah Valentine, 24-24. We're going to overtime. Jordan, of course, hits Evans, of course, sets up a Jordan punch touchdown QB sneak, 31-24. Then Ryan Mathis is going to look to try to save the game on 4th down, and it doesn't work. The Trojan locker room afterward was ecstatic.
Yeah, Glenn, Trojans got to be happy to get that first win underneath their belt, and maybe it'll jumpstart them here in the SEOAL play. Carter, thanks a lot tonight, man.
See ya.
Well, unfortunately, because of technical difficulties, we're unable to bring you our Fan of the Week video for this week. Tonight, we were in Wahama, and we met up with Michael, the White Falcons' #1 fan, and literally everybody we talked to pointed us in his direction as he makes it a tradition of getting the whole crowd pumped up before every single game. You see him right there. There he is wearing that #1 fan jersey, and trust us, folks, Michael clearly was. For pictures of Michael winning our Week 5 Fan of the Week, check out our Fan of the Week Wahama album on our Facebook page right now. And tomorrow we'll have a picture slideshow and audio of Michael taking home our Fan of the Week at WOUB.org. So check that out tomorrow. Once again, we're sorry for the technical difficulties that stopped us from bringing you this video. But Michael, he rocked it tonight. Well, the road to the TVC Hawking title goes through Wahama. The White Falcons won the league last season and have picked up right where they left off this year. But there's another undefeated team in the Hawking right now, and they're located in Waterford. Tonight, the Wildcats matched up with Wahama and a TVC Hawking showdown. Covering the TVC Hawking for us all season, this man, Nick Hurst, you were at the game tonight. Nick, talk to us about this game because it looked like, Wahama, the dominant team, but Waterford, also coming in undefeated. It looks like it was a good matchup on paper.
Yeah, but Wahama is a really tough test for Waterford. Wahama enters this game allowing just 3 points in their last 2 games and scoring back-to-back 60-point games. And Coach Ed Cromley says that his team is not going to overlook anyone because they're too focused on who they're playing for the coming week. However, Waterford might have taken Wahama off guard on the opening kickoff as Brian Moore nearly breaks it away, but Tyler Roush saves the touchdown for Wahama. An opening possession for Wahama. They go for it on 4th down with the fake punt there. Anthony Grimm goes 51 yards, fumbles the ball, but they would pick it up inside the 5, and then Crandall Neal would put it in for the Wahama White Falcons. That would put them up 7-0. And later, Wahama driving again. Trenton Gibbs throws an interception to another quarterback. That's Waterford's quarterback, Trevor Lang. And however, that would not lead to anything for Waterford. And from there, Wahama's just going to pound away like those drummers are on Waterford. And Trenton Gibbs finds Kane Roush here, not to be confused with the wrestler. He breaks away, and he gets the Wahama touchdown right there, and he puts them up 28-0. And Blake, you know who we haven't talked about yet?
Isaac Lee?
Yeah. Isaac Lee, the guy, he does it all. He runs, catches passes. He's going to get a nice 20-yard run here as he breaks some tackles. Guy's a really special player for Wahama.
Could be a Player of the Year candidate for us, absolutely.
A little hint there. And, well, Anthony Grimm, he's going to put it in for Wahama. That's 3 touchdowns in the first half for them. They went into halftime with a 42-0 lead, and they go on to win 61-8. 3rd straight 60-point game for Wahama.
Unbelievable. Their offense can't be stopped. I guess the question becomes, Nick, Waterford came in 2-0 and looking pretty good in the conference, but they get dominated tonight. How in the world do you stop Wahama?
Well, you got to out-slug them. They've really got a great offense, and they also play good defense. And if you look for another team that could compete against them, you got to look at South Gallia. South Gallia is a team that's also blowing out teams, but they had that loss to Trimble. That was an 18-14 loss. But again, I don't think anyone's going to catch Wahama at this point if they keep playing like this.
Right. So take a look at the conference as a whole. Looks like South Gallia has emerged as the 2nd best team. Now, how about for Waterford? Because they got to bounce back after this tough loss tonight. Doesn't get much easier for them next week. No, they got to go to Trimble, and they still got, again, South Gallia on that schedule. So I think Waterford, they have those 3 conference wins. That's something. And if they want to win the Hawking, they got the tough loss tonight, but if they want to win, they had to win tonight, and unfortunately they did not. Okay, so I guess real quick now, can anybody take down Wahama in this conference, you think, or is it theirs to lose? I don't think so. I'll mention again, South Gallia might be the team, but it's got to be Wahama at this point. Absolutely. Well, they've certainly shown nothing to make us not think that, so we'll see if Wahama does roll through this one. Thanks a lot, Nick. Yep. Extra point time now. 2 games broken down in 1 minute's time. Go out to Fedhawk to start off. Belpre and Fedhawk TVC Hawking clash. A lot of defense in this one. Both teams struggled to move the ball early as tackles for loss were the norm. DJ Leftwood forces a fumble here. Belpre would recover it. As you can see, this game would go late in the 3rd quarter, tied at 0 before Peyton Steele scored on a 2-yard touchdown run to give Fedhawk the 6-0 win. Back-to-back wins for the Lancers. Now we go out to Vinton County. They matched up with Point Pleasant tonight. Here you see Joey Beatty pass to Curtis Lindner, breaks the tackle and just thrown out of bounds there. Anthony Darst hits the hole right here through the defense and off the run. That's a 33-yard touchdown run. Anthony Darst making some noise there. Next one, you may see this one later in the show as a top play. Eric Roberts rolls out and finds Brandon Toller for a 70-yard touchdown run. Point Pleasant goes on to cruise in this one, 42-7. Man, oh man, does Sheridan look impressive this season. The Generals' average of margin through 4 weeks, over 42 points a game. But a caveat for you, their opponents have combined for only 3 wins this season. But tonight, Sheridan can erase any doubt with a victory over the Cambridge Bobcats, also undefeated and ranked number 3 in the region. This matchup tonight, our game of the week. Now we're joined in Zanesville by our MVL reporter, Pat Chiesa. He was at this matchup tonight between Sheridan and Cambridge. Pat, I guess the prognosticators of Sheridan would point to their easy non-conference match or schedule as a reason why the Sheridan Generals are 4-0 and dominant through 4 weeks. But tonight, matchup with Cambridge could erase any doubts with a win tonight, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, Blake. I mean, heading into this game, the Generals were 4-0, but they didn't really face anybody. I mean, their slimmest lead heading into the half through those first 4 games was 37 points. So it's safe to say they really didn't face any competition until tonight. The Cambridge Bobcats were also 4-0, so this was a big game, and really, Coach Culver's young team, everybody was anxious to see how they would respond, and they definitely responded in a good way, winning 34-13. They were up 21-0 at the half, and Blake, they turned the ball over 4 times too, and they still won by 20 points. So this was a very impressive win for Coach Culver and his young team.
Absolutely, Pat. They erased any doubts that any doubters may have had. Now, unfortunately, because of technical difficulties, we're unable to bring you the highlights of this one. Sheridan dominated this matchup tonight, which was a big surprise, 34-14. Pat, I guess Sheridan erased any doubt that this is a legitimate team in the Division III region. Yeah,
Blake, they did. This team is for real. We'll give you a quick run through since we don't have the highlights of what happened in this game. Early in the second quarter, Nick Allsbach punched in a 10-yard touchdown run to put the Generals up 14-0. That was after Mitchell Fouch had a touchdown run earlier in the first quarter. Cambridge did put up a fight. Trevor Wilson had a good night, threw for around 230 yards. He found Darrell Winfrey for a nice 18-yard gain. But the Cats were stuffed. They really just couldn't get anything going. Sheridan had a huge, on 4th and 6 in the second quarter, had a huge touchdown pass from Drew Murray to Dalton McLaughlin on 4th and 6 from 32 yards out. So that put them up 21-0 heading into the half. But the Cats did bounce back. On their first drive of the second half, they scored on a touchdown, a 44-yard strike from Wilson to Reese Lashley, and that made it 21-7. Now here was the turning point in the game. The Generals muffed a punt. Corey Cipriano fumbled a punt. Cambridge got the ball back. They were in Sheridan's red zone, and they could have made it 21-14 here, but instead, the quarterback Wilson fumbled the ball, and Dalton McLaughlin picked it up and ran it 82 yards to the house. So instead of a 21-14 game, it was 28-7.
Big momentum.
And the Generals just cruised from there, Blake. I mean, it was a commanding victory for as good as a team as Cambridge was.
Yeah, great win for Sheridan tonight. Now, talk to us about Mitchell Fouch a little bit, because the dude has been an animal. This was the toughest defense Sheridan has faced all season long. He ran for 200 tonight. How important is he to this Generals team?
Oh, Blake, he's the backbone of this offense. I mean, the dude is a beast. Talking with Coach Culver earlier this week, he said that this was going to be a tough matchup. Cambridge has a very skilled defense, but, I mean, Fouch just sliced them and diced them all the way to the 200 mark. A very impressive night for him, and this kid is really just running the ball at will right now. This team is going to go as far as he wants to take them.
Now, a loss in the shuffle here, and shouldn't be. Talk about their defense, because they were worried about Deshaun Lewis tonight, and because he's been a stud for Cambridge all season long, but they held him to under 100 yards, which was huge for the Generals.
Oh, he has. Over 200 yards last week in a big win over Division II power New Philadelphia, but they shut him down tonight. Only 95 yards rushing for Lewis. And granted, the quarterback Wilson did have a good game in the air, found some holes in the secondary, but that was very important to see that this Generals team can step up on both sides of the ball and hold Lewis the way they did.
All right, well, I guess we can officially say Sheridan, a team to beat, not only in the NBL, but the Division III Region 7 standings as well. Thanks a lot, Pat. Well, now that we've seen Sheridan dominate in our game of the week, that does it for our coverage of this week's games. But you know what time it is now. Here's a look at our Week 5 top plays. Start out in TriValley. Here's a nice fade pass out here to Chris Michael. Nathan Strock was on it all night long. Great pass there. TriValley wins 55-0. Number 2, Nathan Dean rolls out, fires it deep. Look at Daniel Klein adjusts his route, comes back to it. The defender falls down, and he cruises into the end zone untouched. Nelsonville York statement victory, 42-6. Number 1, we saw this one earlier in extra points. Eric Roberts rolling out and finding Brandon Toller. That's a 70-yard touchdown catch. He puts on the afterburners and cruises into the end zone, 42-7, Point Pleasant. Well, I can't believe it, but the 2011 season is already halfway over. The second half of the season starts in earnest next week. TVC Ohio action kicks off next Friday, and Gridiron Glory will be in Athens for their matchup with Megs. For all the other games, here's a look at our Week 6 matchups. Don't look now, but we're officially on to the second half of the season. Gridiron Glory is looking forward to week number 6. TVC Ohio play kicks off next week. We know the Athens Bulldogs are legitimate conference contenders, but should the red-hot Megs Marauders be put in that discussion as well? We'll know a whole lot more next week after their matchup in Athens. Fresh off a matchup with Wahama, Waterford returns home for an old foe, the Trimble Tomcats. Both teams need this victory to boost their playoff hopes. Logan and Gallia square off in an intriguing SEOAL matchup. The Chieftains are looking to right their ship, but the Blue Devils have played stout football and look to contend with Jackson at the top of the conference. Warren goes out of SEOAL play for a week as they travel to Erickson All-Sports facility in a matchup with struggling Parkersburg South. Philo looks to notch another MVL win with a victory over West Muskingum. And our game of the week stays in the MVL as Maysville and John Glenn kick off with conference positioning and important playoff points on the line. Well, that'll do it. 5 weeks are behind us, and I think it's safe to say we're all looking forward to what lies ahead. The TVC Ohio continues to look dominant across the board. Sheridan may not ever lose again, and Wahama appears to have a stranglehold on the TVC Hawking. Join us again next week to keep up with everything going on around the region. Be sure to check us out at WOUB.org. And also check us out on Facebook. And remember, tomorrow we'll get the slideshow up of Michael and Wahama winning our Fan of the Week, Week 5. He was great for us out in Wahama. Check that out, WOUB.org tomorrow. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. So, for the entire crew, I'm Blake Brody reminding you there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory. Good night, everybody.
Support comes from the Holzer